Hey, can you send me the report format as well as the deck format, please?
The report format and deck format for the tracker have been successfully generated and sent. If you need any further assistance or specific details, feel free to ask.
So that was the LLM agent in action. Hello friends, welcome to part 4 of this series on building an LLM action agent app. Next is what we want to do is we want to design or give a custom front end and add other things. So that's why we are going for React. Otherwise, at this point also, this Voicebot can be deployed on any website. Now, replicating this setup, the easiest way is to simply fork the repository and clone it, copy it, and use it and make changes there. That's the easiest I think way, and with the AI assisted coding that is. So number one I will cover is I will do a demo. I will do a quick demo of Cursor AI and Claude one or both. Create a small app, small component, how I started off, or how you can go about if you were to build it from zero, how you can go about building something like this or something else from zero. So build a small app and deploy it right away, go live with the small app, and to show you how easy and quick it is to create these. That's one. And the second thing which I will cover is, then we will come to the this vtexer app, and the kind of instructions which had to be given. If you want to do this, then these are the things, specific or critical things which have to be part of the instructions to a LLM app. Okay, so for our demo app, including deployment, this is what we will build, or this one component we will build. Now I will also take this, I will just take a minute to also share what is a Voicebot. Just a basic simplest of the Voicebot. Voicebot can have many components. It can await for pauses and so on, but simplest Voicebot has got largely three components. Component number one is your voice to text. First, whatever the voice is getting, it is converted into a text. Then the second part is the text chat completion. That text is sent to a OpenAI or a LLM API endpoint to get an answer. So the text is sent and then an answer comes. The answer which comes back in text. So now if we want the Voicebot to respond with a voice, then we need to convert that text answer into speech. So it has got these three components. So for example, when I was building the Voicebot, I wanted to build it from right from zero. So I built this one component at a time. First only I built this one block just to see how that works. I was getting used to working with React and Claude Sonnet at that time. So for example, what is capital of India? So it is now doing speech to text. I am using voice translation API so that it is multilingual. Now we will send it to chat completion. The capital of India is, so this has got, we have received in chat as a text. Now we want to convert to speech.
The capital of India is New Delhi.
Right. So these are the three individual components. Then I had asked, I wanted to confirm, make sure that we are using the right endpoints, latest endpoints for these. Then I had created a simple Voicebot. I just asked Claude Sonnet, that time I was using Claude Sonnet, please take all these three boxes and combine them into a simple Voicebot. So simple Voicebot is now this gives a seamless experience. So like this. Hey, what is capital of India?
The capital of India is New Delhi.
Right. So now it gives the impression, all that thing, text and conversions and all is happening in background. It gives the impression of that we are talking to a voice. But of course there is a lag, and there are various things you can do for lag, and you can you can do things so that it automatically sends it out when there is a pause and stuff like that. But this is a simple Voicebot. This is the basic Voicebot component. So when I wanted to build that app, when I wanted to connect it to various other components, the LLM agents, the automation agents, and all so on. So I started with this, the code for this. I started with the code for this, and then I went ahead. Now for our demo, what we will do is, and like I said, like I mentioned earlier, all these codes are there. So if you just want to replicate or get a head start, you can directly use the main code which I've shared in GitHub. But if you want to build something like this or something else also, you have to build, you have to start small. Must start with a small component and then build component by component by component. Like I mentioned, that whole app was not built in one prompt. It took me 100 to 150 prompts or iterations, errors, and so on. So if we have to just build this one component, what I call voice translation, which can transcription and translation. Translation means it will convert any language also, it can convert. So we will, or if we just want English to be done, we will use transcription endpoint. So how do we go about it? First, we have to make sure what is the LLM. You can use whichever model you want to use. If we are using OpenAI, then we want to make sure we go to a OpenAI API reference, and we want to make sure we are using the right LLM endpoints. Whatever task you want to do, whether OpenAI or others, you have all API endpoint. You just have to take the endpoint and use it. So audio, what do we want to do? We want to create speech. Not now. Create speech is last point. Currently we want to create a translation or a transcription. Transcription means that transcribes the audio into the input language. Translation will translate. If I speak in some other language, it will translate it also. So that's a choice you have to make, but doesn't make too much of a difference in this case. So let's take this API endpoint. So what I need to tell the LLM agent or my AI assisted coder is, so you have got all these options here: Python, Node.js, curl. I like to typically just take the curl, raw curl request. So I will take this, and then I will draft instructions. So the way I draft the instruction is, I draft the instruction in voice mode. So I will now go into voice mode. I use Google Docs to voice mode. So this is how I will do it. So we start voice mode. Yeah, I want you to create an app in React. Okay, make it a nice looking app with a nice design. Basically what it will do is, it's a speech to text translation. So it should have a microphone. When the person speaks, it should take that speech, and then it should take that speech, and it should send to the OpenAI endpoint. So I am sharing below the OpenAI endpoint and the curl sample code. So you have to use the similar kind of thing to send it there and get the text back. And once you get the text back, show the text whatever you have received. And for OpenAI key, API key, do one thing: give a box on the top where OpenAI key can be put, and make it star star star, so that nobody, it is not visible easily. It's not visible that way. So I think that's it. It's a straightforward speech to text mini app. Give a nice design. Do it carefully. So this is a very simple kind of an instruction. For some of the other things, some of the instructions go very long. So now we will go to so this is the instruction. So now we will go to VS Code. If you VS Code or whatever ID you are using, or I will show cursor. This is my cursor ID, right? So this is VS Code. Essentially it is VS Code only, like it's nothing, it's just VS Code, but it has been down here. So it is a VS Code, but it has been downloaded from here. All the links are there. So it's basically a VS Code fork, and it has got an AI component on top of it. Now what is Claude Dev? Claude Dev is a VS Code extension. It is a marketplace. It's available in marketplace. It's just an extension. No download required. It can go into your existing VS Code editor, or if you are using GitHub code spaces. So for example, sometimes I will use GitHub code spaces. So this is my GitHub code spaces. So there, Claude Dev is available as an extension, like any other extension. It will be available. There are some differences, pricing and so on. I won't go into the detailed comparison. Claude uses Claude, and some other options are also available. With Cursor, if you use GPT-4 or Mini, it is almost like free, almost using free. Claude Dev also has access to your command line, so it can do npm installs and so on. While Cursor ID, you have to do it yourself, but no big deal. Sometimes interchange. I have sometimes find that for some reason one of them gets stuck. So then I asked the other to continue. This is the setup I am using, and it changes very quickly the way things are evolving. So this is basically VS Code Cursor ID. This is Cursor ID. These are all the windows from chat window. This is your Cursor ID window, chat window. And here again, I have installed in Cursor ID. I have installed Claude Dev. So interchangeably working. It's a you can use one of them, either of them. Based on what I am trying to do, and this thing, I take a call. Let's first give a shot to Cursor. We might not be able to, but they works very similarly. But let's give a shot to Cursor, since we are using Cursor ID. So Control C, and here, so using Cursor ID and Claude Dev, very simple. Control I will pull up the Composer window, which is where Composer window, where you can give all your your instructions, and it will do it. There's a chat window, and then there is a command line tab thing also, which I don't use too much. And there are lovely videos on using both Claude Dev as well as Cursor ID, which I will be sharing in the post and the GitHub repo in the guide. So here I have various options here. I can choose GPT-4 Omni, Claude Sonnet for different for Claude Sonnet and GPT-4, or consider premium model for difficult task. I use that. But here let's start this simple thing. Let's GPT-4 Omni, and GPT-4 Omni using with Cursor ID is almost like using, it's they don't it is considered in the free limit. So I will paste this thing here, and I'll say okay, enter. So changes, and so it has to create AI input and so on. So it has made some changes here to the existing file chatbot, which was a blank thing there. I'll say accept all. It has made some changes, added this that. It is showing what it has changed. I'll say accept that. So completed. So let's try and run this thing. So I will say npm start, right? Okay, so this chatbot app and chatbot coming were the old placeholder. So it is enter open API key. So I will enter my I'll enter my key. uh, Pretty nothing, doesn't look too good, but we'll see. So I'll say start recording, testing. Okay, so it's working. You have a basic thing, but it's not so good. Now I can ask Cursor ID to make it better. It does a good job of improving it, or I can go and ask Claude Dev to make it better. Doesn't improvement that I want. So I will say that, hey, can you make the interface look better? This is that interface which is there for a voice translator chatbot. It is looking very simple and basic. The headers are also duplicating, and they are not looking nice. So just one simple one single header, make it look a little professional, little jazzy also is fine. I put icon for a microphone, write some different boxes for different thing, borders and colors. So go ahead, and any other thing which will make it look professional. So we have these instructions. So I will copy. So for making that change, we can use. So we'll use Claude Dev, right? So Claude Dev is here. What can I do for you? Previous chat, so and okay. So type your task here. So I'll just control here, and keep in mind camera. All of them can take your photo instructions. Also, you can draw something, give it to them. They'll create an app, right? I will send it out. Okay, let's see. So when it is doing the task, it shows the tokens used and the API cost. You can see the API cost here. Here it is charged on API basis. So it is asking Claude wants to read this file. I say approve. So error reading file not found. Okay, we have to see, let it fix it, let it figure it, let it only figure it out. Okay, it appears that chat doesn't exist. We need to create it to improve the structure and add the microphone something. It wants to edit the file, let it do whatever it wants. We'll see later. So it wants to create a new file, chatbot.css. Okay, create it. Again, it makes an next API. So it is asking whenever it wants to update the files, and or it will keep asking. So now it has done whatever it has to done. It is saying that Claude wants to it wants to run the commands to start. I can run it, or I can have it run it one and the same thing. So this is important. It has access to terminal. So I'll say okay, run command. So let's see what it created. Okay, little better, right? Okay, I don't like the header, so little better. So open API key, API key. Then I'll say start testing. Okay, so this works, right? So this is where we are now. This is a very simple one. When I started it, it looked like this, and then I had to give it, okay, make it look better. Can you add a microphone? Can you add a spinner? It doesn't do it on it. So so I know you have to give some thoughts and ideas there. And can you add a border and a color and a multi-page and a this and that, right? But at this point in time, if you see, we have a working. So that is all the iteration it takes. You go component by component and keep testing. Error comes, you paste the error and does it. But keep in mind, at this point in time, say this is a live working voice translation chatbot, right? It is a working app. Let's see if it can translate other languages. Supposed to. भाई मेरे को एक बताओ, ये जावास्क्रिप्ट के बारे में मेरे को थोड़ा सा जानना है। ये रिएक्ट और एंगुलर और नेक्स्ट के इनमें फ़र्क क्या है भाई? ज़रा फ़र्क क्या है ज़रा बताओ मेरे को। आई एम आस्किंग व्हाट इज़ द डिफरेंस बिटवीन। So tell me one thing I want to know about JavaScript. What is the difference between React? That's all my question, right? Lovely. So we have a working app. Now what if we want to say deploy this app right now, live, right? We want to deploy this live on the internet, on our website and so on. Very easy to do it. We'll do it. So we are here. So I will close this app window. Now what I will do is, this is already a repo here, right? I have connected, this is connected to my GitHub repo here, right? So all the deployments, connected to GitHub repo is the best way. So Vercel now directly pick up from there. So I will now stage my changes, Control Shift. This is all VS. This is all your VS Code Git and stuff, right? So I will just stage all changes, Control Shift P, commit staged. Okay, committed. Now I will pre-commit. I have to give the reason. This is commit. I'm saying this is your voice translation app. So I will say yes. So this is my commit message. I will say Control Shift P. I will say push repo name voice translation app. So the latest commit has come here. Now all that we need to do is we go to Vercel. Lovely, excellent for installing. They are the inventor, the developers of Next.js. A huge amount of free tier for these kind of app. I've got, I don't know, 1 2 3 4 10 15, I don't know, apps running there. All currently all are running free. Small apps, very simple. So I have now, keep in mind, we have updated GitHub repo. Once it is ready, I say add new project, and it is connected to my GitHub repository, right? If you are doing it the first time, just click login, finished. You are connected to your GitHub repository. So this is my repository. I will say import. So it is importing whatever test name it want to. We can give, voice translation app, and then other, and then root directory. We have to just make sure my root directory is this, right? Everything is there. So continue, and I will say deploy. Deploying this, how long does it take to deploy? I think probably less than a minute. Deployed, I think what, 40 seconds deployed. Congratulations. So continue to dashboard. I can click here and it goes to the app. So now this is app live on the website, right? Control 1. If I do here, this is now they have given their own URL. It doesn't look very odd thing, but we can change it. We can change it to our custom domain. My domain is I can make it voice translation.amarharolikar.com or whatever you want, right? We'll just do a test here on the live app on the web. It is working or not. Test allow. Okay. Testing working. So this whole app, I did it right in front of you, right? I think I probably would have taken what, 10 minutes, one app, 10 minutes, simple app. So that is the power of this AI assisted coding tool, combined with platforms like Vercel, Render, Heroku for deployments, and tools like your Flowwise and your Make.com, right? Okay. Now next we will go into creating, how I created, or the specific instruction requiring for doing the VTex app, like that. What are the more specific instructions you need to give, API endpoints and so on and so forth. So those are the instructions that you will have to give. It will need iterations and so on, but the critical points we will now we will go over it. Okay, now that we know how to create apps with instruction, let's look at the specific instructions required for this app. Some I will cover now, and as we go ahead. So one functionality which I just want to show it here, I have put my API key here. भाई आपको हिंदी आती है क्या? So I'm asking in Hindi whether he knows Hindi or not. Right now, see.
जी हाँ, मुझे हिंदी आती है। कैसे मदद कर सकता हूँ?
So the response also came in Hindi. Just keep in mind, there are this is a multilingual bot answering in the same language. If we want to answer in English, it will be different. So now let's go into the components which are involved here, right? So like I said, here there are only 3 components involved. One is the voice translation or transcription, right? Chat completion and text to speech. So we need to provide this with them. We need to provide when we are giving instruction to the bot. We need to give these 3. We need to provide them with these 3 API endpoints. That's it. Now for voice, which is the endpoint to be used? You can, depends on your there are many apps, but I prefer just sticking to OpenAI for most of the stuff. So OpenAI, so we come to OpenAI API reference. So here audio. So what we want to do is either we can use a transcription or a translation. In the last section I mentioned translation about multilingual. So the difference, just keep in mind the difference between transcription and translation. So transcription is what we are using and we want to use, or I want to use here. Transcription will take audio in whatever is the input language and transcribe in the same language. So let me show you. So this is our app Flowwise backend that I just spoke. So we can see the previous messages, right? I'll come here and I'll say view messages. So when I come to view messages, see here you can see the previous messages. I asked in Hindi and the answer came in the Hindi script, right? So that is what happens in transcription. So that is what is happening in transcription. Hindi comes in, Hindi script comes out. It goes in the same language, right? And that is the language. Then that is continued. So that's why the answer also came back in Hindi. If we want the answer come back in English, we can do it many ways. But I'm just pointing out the slight difference here. Translate will take whatever language and put it into English. Whatever language into English. Transcription, input language is same as output language. Translation, input language can be anything, output is always English. Now what are the API endpoints? So we go to the API reference, then we go to create transcription. So this is create transcription. This is the curl, like I told you, this is the curl. You can give it JavaScript also, Node also, doesn't make a difference, it will figure out. But curl is the raw request, raw fetch request that it will do there, right? So this is the API endpoint. So this is all that you need to copy and paste, finished. Before I gave it here, actually I tested it in Python also just to see how it works, but you can directly give it. So this is number one, and I'll show you in the app. Second, what you need to give is, now this has converted the speech into text. Now we need to tell it, once you have received the speech, right, this point, once you have received the speech, it should be sent to an LLM to get an answer back, right? So we are now here not sending it to, now this is important, we are not sending it to the OpenAI API endpoint here. What do we want to do here? We want this text to go to, or user response to go to our LLM agent, right? So that is what we will do. How do we do that? So I already showed we had created the LLM agent here, right? This is the LLM agent we created, we went through it. Now Flowwise has a marvelous functionality. If you come here, it will give you this curl, right? Prediction. So I showed you, we can directly use this bot as is, right? And deploy it as is. Or if we want to use in our custom bot like we are doing it, then we can use a endpoint. This is an API endpoint now, and I can use this API API endpoint to send my chat completion request. So I'm not using it as a bot, I'm using it as an API endpoint. So as soon as my request hits it here, whatever language it comes here, this tool agent will do whatever it is supposed to do. If it is only a question, it will answer the question. If it is supposed to update the data, report, or whatever, right? So here we need to provide this API key. This is my custom domain is there, so and so this is my actual API endpoint, right? So that is what we need to provide. Then the third thing we need to provide is, we want the response to be spoken out, right? Flowwise bot, we want it to speak out the response. So once the response is received in whichever language, we want it to speech, so convert text to speech. So then we go to API reference, we go to text to audio, create speech. So this is create a speech. It will take whichever is the input text. If it is Hindi, output audio will be in Hindi, right? And you have got various voice choices and all. So this is the endpoint which we have to give to our instructions in the instructions to the LLM app. If you are building it from zero, if you are replicating it, you can simply take it and modify, but I'm giving you the important points which need to be given. That okay, please when you are making it, please add a microphone, please add a spinner box, please put this color, that color, all that thing. And here are the 3 API endpoints. So if I go to my Voicebot here, this is that same Voicebot, right? So here again, this code, GPT will explain the code better than I will, but I will still do a very quick not a walkthrough, but point out where the API endpoints are there. So this is the API endpoint for speech to text. Same endpoint, API fetch from that open API audio transcription. This is the URL I had given. Then for getting chat completion, our I am giving this flowwise IP address, which I mentioned that API address is there. There could be small difference in the way it is address is there, but the same address. Then these are the other API calls, and then we have finally for text to speech when it has to respond. Then same API opening V1 audio speech same. Right? So these are the end. You give these endpoints, matter is over. So at this point in time, once you give the instruction, like we made one, but you give this instruction and you give the API endpoint, you will have a voice bot working, which is connected. Now keep in mind, at this point in time, this app has now been connected to Flowwise, your LLM agent, and your LLM agent is already connected to your whole automation schema. So at this point in time, once you have given those three API endpoint URL and you have a voice bot here, and I call it voice bot, you can very easily add a text thing only. I could not get around to it. You can do it. It's a matter quick thing. This whole thing is now working and ready. So that is how, when I had built it, first I just had this portion. Then we build one of these other things were built and added, which we will now see next. How to build and how to add. Some of them I covered in the overview, but I'll still cover it.